an exception. Special needs families where the child, special needs, has to live in that house. There's no other viable alternative. It's so frustrating, it's so upsetting that families who plan to keep the house for their child, bipolar, autism, whatever the diagnosis may be, those plans have been shattered for hundreds of thousands of Californians. Really an unintended consequence because they weren't thinking about that. So there should have been, but there is no exception or protection for a special needs child.
Did you know there's a tax most California homeowners never hear about until after they buy? It's not on your mortgage paperwork, not capped like property tax, and it rises automatically. For new homeowners, this hidden housing tax can add thousands every year, and it's quietly reshaping who can afford to live here. When Californians talk about housing costs, they usually focus on mortgage rates, home prices, or property taxes. But for millions of homeowners, especially those in newer developments, the real financial shock comes after move-in. It's a category of charges known as special assessments and development fees, most commonly associated with Mello-Roos community facilities districts, layered with local impact fees, school bonds, and infrastructure assessments. Together, they function like a second property tax, one that is largely invisible in political debates, but painfully obvious in monthly budgets. What is this hidden housing tax? California's base property tax is capped at 1% of assessed value under Proposition 13. But that cap does not apply to Mello-Roos taxes, local bond assessments, infrastructure and utility district fees, school construction levies. These charges appear as line items on property tax bills, but they are not capped, not uniform, and not temporary in practice. For many new homeowners, these fees add $2,000 to $8,000 per year on top of regular property taxes. How Mello-Roos really works. Mello-Roos districts were created to fund infrastructure for new housing developments, roads, schools, sewer systems, fire stations. Instead of cities paying up front, the cost is shifted directly onto homeowners in the district. Here's the catch. These taxes often last 30 to 40 years. They increase automatically. They are tied to bonds that must be repaid regardless of economic conditions. Once a home is inside a Mello-Roos district, the homeowner is locked in. Why new homeowners are hit hardest? Older neighborhoods were built before many of these financing mechanisms existed. New developments, however, rely on them almost exclusively. That means new buyers pay higher prices and higher taxes. First-time buyers are disproportionately affected. Families moving to suburban growth areas face the biggest burden. A buyer may stretch to afford a mortgage only to discover their annual tax bill is double what they expected. The role of state and local policy. California's housing shortage has pushed cities to approve large developments without having the tax base to support them. Rather than raising visible taxes, local governments increasingly rely on developer fees, special assessment districts, long-term bonds passed on to homeowners. State leadership, including Governor Gavin Newsom, frequently emphasizes housing production targets, but the financing structure behind that housing is rarely discussed. The result? Homes get built, but affordability collapses after purchase. Why this tax is hidden? Technically, these charges are disclosed, but not clearly. They are often buried in escrow documents, described in vague legal language, minimized by real estate marketing, excluded from headline tax rate discussions. Buyers focus on interest rates and down payments, not realizing that their monthly housing cost includes a permanent government surcharge. The monthly reality for homeowners. Here's how it plays out in real life. A new homeowner buys a $750,000 home. Base property tax to $7,500 a year. Mello-Roos and assessments, $4,000, $6,000 year. Total tax burden, $11,500, $13,500 annually. That's nearly $1,000 per month before utilities, insurance, or HOA fees. This is why many new homeowners feel house poor immediately. Why this is crushing mobility. These hidden taxes have long-term consequences. Homeowners can't refinance easily. Buyers struggle to sell in downturns. Property values are distorted. Middle-income families are priced out. Unlike mortgage interest, these taxes never decline. Even if rates fall or a loan is paid off, the assessments remain. Impact on housing affordability. Policymakers often point to construction costs or zoning as the main drivers of unaffordability, but this tax structure quietly inflates the true cost of ownership. Two identical homes, one in a Melrose district and one outside, can differ by hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term cost. Yet buyers are rarely given a clear comparison. Why the state depends on this system? The uncomfortable truth: California relies on this system because it avoids political backlash. Raising statewide taxes is visible. Raising local assessments on new homeowners is not. This allows cities to approve growth without funding it, the state to meet housing targets on paper, costs to be deferred for decades. The people who pay are those least able to absorb it: new families, first-time buyers, and middle-income earners. Can this be fixed? Technically, yes, but politically, it's difficult. Fixing it would require transparent disclosure standards, caps on special assessments, shifting infrastructure costs back to governments, honest accounting of housing affordability. So far, none of these have gained traction. Why this matters now? As interest rates fluctuate and home prices remain elevated, buyers are stretching further than ever. Hidden taxes turn barely affordable into unsustainable. This is one reason California is seeing rising foreclosure risk among newer buyers, increased outmigration, growing resentment toward housing policy. The system is pricing people in, then taxing them out. The real cost of owning a home. California's housing crisis isn't just about prices, it's about structure. This hidden housing tax doesn't show up in campaign speeches or glossy housing plans, but it shows up every year on tax bills and every month in household budgets. For new homeowners, it's not just expensive, it's inescapable. Until this system is confronted honestly, homeownership in California will continue to feel like a promise made and quietly taken away.